June 10th, 2020. Recently I heard Dinesh D'Souza chatting about the roots of Antifa. Antifa, the modern fascists of today, the violent thug, brown-shirted, black-shirted, masked fascists, now joined hands with the slaves of the Black Lives Matter people, whereas all lives matter, not just black, and black baby lives matter too, but they don't matter to the left. But in any case, that reminded me of how with atheist groups, the cookie-cutter leftist atheist response to someone like Dinesh D'Souza is some level of disgust. And there was a time when Dinesh was engaging in debates with people like Christopher Hitchens and whatnot. Now, in the Trump era, and with the craziness of where the left has gone, I see that type of discussion, God versus no God, as being almost irrelevant. Almost irrelevant. Like, who cares? There's more important things than that. Plus, there's a strong nuance that is utterly lost on the left, including the left, especially leftist atheists and so-called humanists, that traditional religions couch evolved morality. Now, as far as atheist groups, I have a rather long history of being associated with them. Back when I lived in Austin, Texas, I had some association with what became the Atheist Community of Austin. And I was there during a meeting at some sort of cafeteria-style buffet when they invited some pastor to speak, and they treated the man like absolute shit. Okay? They treated the man like absolute shit. Now, later, and also later in Portland, I attended a humanist group, and there was a lady there that I knew whose name is, I think her name is Sue Emmett, and she helped start the ex-Mormon conferences. Well, she helped continue and expand the ex-Mormon conferences that were happening in Salt Lake for a while. But that place was a sea of gray hair, and like 1%, 0.1%, or maybe 0.1% children. A sea of gray hair. That's humanism for you. So-called humanism. It's not really humanism. It's death cultism. The proof is in the pudding as to who's pro-life and making the babies and interested in continuing the human project. It's not the humanists, so-called humanists. They're not really humanists. They're just leftists by another name. Anyway, so that was in Portland. Also in Portland, there was Bernie Deller, who died of cancer a few years ago. He created he had a show on Community Access TV out of Beaverton, and I was on that show. And there was a man there I was friends with, who I became friends with, whose name was Tom Gebhardt. Tom was a was a Christian. Then he became an atheist. Then he went back to being a Christian. After I left Portland. But Bernie Deller also was attended by the notable Andy No. I think Andy No knew Bernie. So I knew Bernie a little bit. Maybe Andy knew Bernie more. Then back in Utah, the atheists group, there was a group called Utah Atheists. Then the name got hijacked by I think a tranny freak who was a Unitarian Universalist. The name got hijacked by some tranny freak, I think. And so then they had to change their name to Salt Lake Valley Atheists. So while I was going to Salt Lake Valley Atheists, sometimes they would have the occasional Ayn Rand appreciating libertarian show up. And when those people show up, boy, they got my hackles up as a socialist. And I remember, like almost yelling at the guy during the Q&A period. He was just wrong and whatever. So I was a brainwashed, stupid socialist at the time. Didn't know any better, but now I do. And also there was another situation with Salt Lake Valley Atheists where another group run by, was it Ross Anderson? Another group run by him. His wife of his similar age was like dying, and so then he hooked up with a younger woman, and this younger woman was a pro-life atheist. And so when Ross and his pro-life atheist girlfriend showed up to the Salt Lake Valley Atheist meeting, they got really upset, and there was a prospect of merging of Salt Lake Valley Atheists and a group called Atheists of Utah when Ross Anderson was running it. And the prospect of merging came up during this meeting, and the old fogies, who were in large part a bunch of just old fart Unitarian Universalists, come back to the dumb shit UU church again. They were very angry about the prospect of emerging because they said, well, we've always been about, basically leftist social policies. So, leftist atheists, your average atheist group run by leftist atheists, they're not interested in free speech, free thought, free inquiry. None of that. It's just off the table. It's just another name for a lefty social club. Okay? You want to really have a group that's interested in free inquiry. You don't shit-can people based on their political views or social views even. Now, on the social front, I tied into the denialism of the left. The Bruce Begamel fallacy. Just because there's fag animals doesn't mean that fagism is selected for by evolution or nature. It can't be. You can't have a selection for a non-reproduction. Selection is for reproduction. So the whole fag sideshow is basically a result of the natural spray that comes from evolution, but a number of the people sucked into fagism get sucked in there because of bad memes rather than genes. So I think it's much more of a meme set problem than it is a gene issue. Postmodernism lies about human nature, and even so-called, I don't know, what you'd call classic liberals, I guess they call themselves. They buy into this dumb shittery that humans are anything but animals which should produce children naturally, and that's it. So anyway, so leftist atheists aren't interested in the truth, and I like Dinesh D'Souza. I don't really care whether he believes in God or whether he disagrees with my stances on non-belief. The word God and the mysticism of religion is essentially a glue that holds people together socially. It's a shared story, a shared dream. Okay? Yes, they claim to believe it literally, but there's quite a number of people within religions who have stopped believing literally, but they just go because they like the social aspect of the religions. Now, as for me in my house, I can't really be in a state where I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to pretend to believe. And even with regard to Christianity, although I agree that Christianity is probably the best of all available options as far as benefit versus negative impact. But the Christianity has this concept of original sin, which is problematic, which teaches children that they're not born innocent. And then, as I've noted elsewhere, leftism has a similar take where in Marxism, where you have group rights and group blames and tribalistic hatred, historical blames, utterly retrograde concept, abusive, and they tell lies to support the original sin. They deny that America was founded by Western Enlightenment values people, and those values eventually led to the end of slavery in America, and the British helped end slavery elsewhere. Western Enlightenment values, Western values. And then wars of conquest were reduced with the American project and with the British largely retreating from or withdrawing from their empire. But if you're a place that used to be part of the British Empire, you're much more well off. So it's the Life of Brian Monty Python situation with what did the Romans ever do for us? Exact situation. Do you want Mayans playing severed head football? Do you want slavery and wars of conquest, which were present with Amerindian tribes and African tribes, and slavery also in those groups? Do you want that, or do you want something different? So the veneer of Christianity, Christianity itself, the meme set, has some value in helping humans progress in a more healthy fashion. Now you could view the original sin as being evolved human nature, the negative aspects of it. Yeah, let's try to transcend that and let's try to expand our in-group morality. That's fine. But children are still born without being responsible in any way for the historical deeds of anyone who happens to share their skin color or their lineage. That is evil. So, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Well, so Antifa is are fascist whites, and Black Lives Matter are blacks who are still slaves of the Democrat Party. Black Lives Matter is a divisive phrase, disenfranchising phrase. It's not an inclusive phrase. All lives matter is an inclusive phrase, which promotes true diversity. Black Lives Matter does not promote diversity. And we can all agree that a number of cops are professional bully thugs. And when cops act badly, they should be locked up with the key thrown away, such as in the recent example with the Minnesota cop. It's fine. But Antifa's playing the black community for fools and chumps. Same with the Democrat Party. So Dinesh D'Souza, I don't know. Dinesh, if you'll ever see this vid, because you're a busy guy. But from my perspective, Dinesh D'Souza has a baton at Christopher Hitchens. Dinesh D'Souza holds a baton of Christopher Hitchens, exposing the Clintons, one big great value of Dinesh. Exposing Obama, another great value of Dinesh. Speaking of exposing the roots of Antifa, another great value of Dinesh. Exposing the roots of the Democratic Party and the continuing actions of them, another great value of Dinesh. I like Dinesh's humor, I like his tone, I like his approach. And if he and Dennis Prager think that atheists can't be moral without a God, well, I can see their point, because leftist atheists who toss the baby of evolved morality out with the bathwater of mysticism, they're having a damn hard time having any sort of morality. The postmodernists and social constructivists, they're having a damn hard time having any sort of natural good morality, pro-life morality that values all life, including the lives of children, including lives of black children who are killed en masse in racist eugenicist Margaret Sanger's baby-killing abattoir called Planned Parenthood. Humans are a sexually dimorphic species. You can't change your gender. The Stonewall LGBTQ PZ project is a death cult, which draws people away from their inherent, their heritage as evolved, inherently reproductive sexual animals, emergent property sexual animals. And leftism in general. Leftists come up with all manner of excuses to not have children. The climate hysteria Ponzi scheme is another excuse that is fooling even people today. It fooled people when my hippie sister who's in Alaska, she didn't have children because of the hippie lies of when she was growing up. The population fears, which were completely unfounded, and now we have an underpopulation problem in the West. The climate hysteria, more on brain-hobbled, brain-damaged dumb shits like Greta Thunberg, brainwashed, victims of the left and their lies, their anti-life lies, and a perpetrator and an enabler, a tool, nothing more than a tool. And it's a Ponzi scheme. So talk about all these, and Ayn Rand was right. Ayn Rand was right, and the anti-socialists are right. The best way to help humans thrive and survive is through free exchange, freedom, not other people deciding what you're going to do in your life. Other people can't decide what you should do in your life. If they try to choose, they're going to choose wrong. And we can't thrive as a species on this planet, this pale blue dot, if we don't take our destiny into our own hands and grab life by the cooperative pussy or dick and make babies and celebrate life and give the greatest gift that we can ever give, life, new life. So that's the situation. All right. I think that's all I'm going to say for today. So I'll join hands with the Christians, because I want us to thrive and survive and continue and move up. But with the caveat that I will call out abuse, such as the original sin thing. But expanding out group morality, that's useful. I agree. In-group morality. Expanding in-group morality, not expanding out-group morality. And the left absolutely amplifies out-group morality.